Hello everyone, and welcome to today's feature preview for the Post Scriptum Realism Mod. Today, we're going to be going over one of the major features that's coming to PSRM with the new major update. That feature is going to be smoke launchers on tanks. The first one I have to showcase to you all is going to be what is known as the M3 smoke launcher, at least in the United States. The UK production of it, I believe, was just called the 2-inch smoke bomb launcher. But if you notice that hole right there in the turret, that is the hole through which the M3 smoke launcher is mounted and fires. So if I hop in here as a commander, and all of these smoke launchers that we'll be seeing today will be controlled by the commander. In actuality, the M3 smoke launcher or the 2-inch smoke bomb launcher would be operated by the loader. We do not have the loader as a crew spot in any of the vehicles. Therefore, that duty has to go to someone. Although the gunner does control the position of the turret, we felt that it would be best for the commander to operate this, especially since a lot of these smoke launchers house signals, signal flares, signal smokes, things like that, as well as some of the smoke launchers we'll be seeing today were in fact triggered by the commander, and so generally across the board, all of the controls for smoke launchers are dedicated to the commander. Not the gunner, not the driver, not the hole gunner, but the commander. Right, so in the bottom right, you should see the UI up against the sky a little bit, so you'll be able to see it just a little bit better. It has 3 different range settings. You can cycle these with the W key. These ranges were set with a pressure valve, at least for the M3 mortar, and different settings of the valve would give different ranges, these being 20 yards, 70 yards, 120 yards. Although all other measurements are in meters, we have to attribute this to yards because otherwise the range setting would be in somewhat weird numbers, uneven numbers in terms of meters. The 2-inch smoke bomb launcher launched white phosphorus smoke. However, in general, I have replaced 1 round of the white phosphorus smoke allotment that they would receive. These are based on what historical documents I could find for exactly how many of each type of smoke launcher got what ammo. I've replaced 1 round of the smoke with a flare. You can cycle the ammo type with Z or prone. It's actually the prone key if you've remapped that. So here's that 1 round for a 2-inch star shell. And then finally, this can also fire a signal flare, and the way that could be done is if there was a flare pistol inside the tank. This is actually breech loaded, so it would you would open the breech, you have a hole through the tank turret to the outside, and you would be able to use a flare pistol or other flare discharger to shoot through the open port, the same way that you might use a pistol port. Some of this is not fully correct because I recently came across some more information on exactly what the Sherman had. So there will be some updates to the smoke launcher system, especially with feedback from the community, in probably one of the first 1 or 2 patches that come as a result of this upcoming release. So without further ado, let me swap back to white phosphorus smoke and let me launch it as far as possible. To fire, you press the bipod or deploy key, which is normally mapped to C. You'll notice that some of the particle effect there was a little bit weird. That is a vanilla issue that is not resolved in the SDK. We don't have a lot of control over that. It's been a bug report that's been filed for that. So please ignore the particle effect of the smoke. But as you can see, smoke was deployed. Let's switch to that star flare and let's set it for kind of more medium range. And that's really not going to be all that useful, but it can be used as kind of signaling or just to illuminate an immediate target for a brief moment. Here we have the there's a white cluster signal flare. This is probably going to be removed and adjusted for a future patch, but it's kind of snuck in here. And let me set that for long range. So this might be something to look forward to if it's visible through the cloud cover. So there's a cluster flare kind of illuminating the area. This is in daytime. I might do another video on what it might look like during the night. That is a signal flare, so it goes away quite quickly. It's just to kind of take attention. So let me cycle back here and let me go and let me actually demonstrate that this is in fact set to the rotation of the turret. Let me pop back out, and that this is in fact coming from that port that I highlighted earlier. So this is at the farthest distance. And let me cycle to medium distance. That's what this will be. What medium distance looks like, and this will be what short distance looks like. And there you go. So hopping out, as I said, this was equipped in US tanks as well as UK tanks. Here we have a Cromwell Mark V with the correct 75mm gun on it, courtesy of Project Variety by Internodo. This port right here is what I believe to be the port. This is like paneled over, probably because the reference was a post-World War II image where a lot of these smoke launchers were removed and their ports were plated over. I believe this is the port. So let me hop in here. And as you can see, we in this vehicle, we have 29 smoke. And as I said before, I replaced one star shell. If there's better documentation on exactly what kind of signaling was available in UK tanks, I would love to have that information. It's been incredibly difficult to get that information or find it online. Moving on, it is worth noting that there are some vehicles, like I mentioned with the Cromwell, there should be, it was standard on every Sherman for there to be a port for the M3 smoke launcher. However, some of them had been either plated over or were welded over or etc. Post-war, there's actually an order prior to the end of World War II, but it's doubtful that any of those that had the smoke launcher port removed actually made it before, made it anywhere to combat before World War II ended. So there should be a port here. I can roughly approximate where it should be. So vehicles like the E8 and other vehicles that are missing the port as they should, they do have smoke launchers available to them. I will highlight where that's not always possible with some of the vehicles that are missing their smoke launchers. But if there are modelers out there, or if Vanilla wants to correct this in some of the models, that can always be added in the future. Moving on, the other kind of smoke launcher available to the Allies is going to be known as the 4-inch smoke bomb launcher. Here we have a Matilda wearing the desert skin from Shifting Sands. This is the smoke bomb launcher. These are essentially sawn-off rifles, typically older rifles, World War I era or earlier rifles, sometimes surplus, that would be fitted. The 4-inch smoke pot, I think it's a number 6 mark. There were multiple marks of the number 6 smoke pot, would be launched with a charge. These were triggered from the inside by believed to be the commander. It could have been another crew position, but I believe that the commander operated these on British tanks as well. So if we go ahead and hop in, here's the commander. Here, rather than having multiple ammo that could be reloaded or stored, this is an externally mounted bomb launcher. It would have to be reloaded from the outside. So currently you have the 2 smoke bombs that you spawn in with, and you are able to cycle through them with W. Typically, any smoke launcher is going to have 3 sets of controls. It'll be your move forward key with W. It'll be prone with Z or Z. And it will be the deploy or bipod key, which is typically bound to C. So you can cycle through which one you want to fire and then launch it with your deploy key. And there you see the smoke pot launch forward. Smoke pots take a while to deploy. They are not white phosphorus grenades that instantly activate. They are filled with a chemical that burns much more slowly, but the advantage of this is it does rapidly fill up and it lasts quite a long time. And just to show off that this is indeed mounted to the turret, let's go ahead and turn the turret over so we can demonstrate that. You'll see that as it launched, that is now grayed out in the UI for this. And so let's fire the other one. There you see the smoke pot go out, and now both of them are grayed out. All smoke ammo will be replenished at an ammo crane to refill your smoke ammo. So there we go, and we can keep an eye on that. The vehicles that have the 4-inch smoke launcher are a number of different UK vehicles, such as the Matilda. The Valentine Mark 11 has them. I don't think the Mark II has them, but it might. But the Valentine has them as well as the Daimler over here on the side. The Bren Carrier is an example of a vehicle that should have a 4-inch smoke bomb launcher. I don't know if all of them were equipped with it, but I've absolutely seen stowage diagrams of them having them. So if that ever gets added, then that is something that we can support in PSRM if that is added to the model. The third and final variety of smoke launchers available to the Allies are going to be available to open-top vehicles. These are thrown smokes, as in the commander of the vehicle is taking a smoke grenade from inside the vehicle and throwing it outside. So here in the Greyhound, and these are also set up with what information is available to find online, which is not always easy. There are 2 different range modes of near and far. Those can be cycled with the W key. The ammo type can be cycled with the prone or Z key. So here we have M8 smoke grenades. We have 1 signal grenade, and as with the illumination shells that I provided to the M3 smoke bomb launcher, typically if there were no signaling smokes aboard the vehicles, I have replaced one of the regular smokes with a signal smoke, just for gameplay reasons. These would not have been standard issue, but I feel that any given crew could have gone out and swapped one of their grenades out, and I feel like that was something that was more or less present, an event that happened on the battlefield. So there's enough justification, in my opinion at least, for some gameplay variety here for signaling from tanks. So we have the M18 Violet smoke grenade. A lot of these vehicles were also given frag grenades, and then there are a variety of different flares that could be launched from any kind of flare launcher, pyrotechnic launcher, etc. So this can be done while inside, hold down into the tank. So here we'll have an example of a smoke. And this will be aimed at the direction that your character is aiming. Let's set that for near. So there is the grenade. Just threw it over the rim right there. Let's go for far. And let's actually throw that signal grenade. There it goes. See, far isn't very far. It's kind of the difference between maybe an underhand or trying to spike a grenade over the side of the vehicle to be quite close, and, you know, kind of giving an overhand toss. So here's a frag grenade, and then I'll demonstrate a flare. So that one's going to land and explode. It kind of disappears really quickly. I'll throw it again just so you can see that it is actually throwing a grenade. It's just as it gets to distance, it's very hard to see. So now I can go ahead and launch one of these red flares. And there you go. There is a red flare. So that's for the Greyhound. That was standard for the Greyhound. Other vehicles would have different loadouts with different smoke grenades, and here I will also show off that this system does work with Commander MGs. So let's hop into the Commander seat here. So some of them actually had, there's an American white phosphorus grenade known as the M15 smoke. This was issued to M18s. So let's go ahead and I will throw out one of those, and it splashes. There are also smoke pots, American smoke pots, that were provided. Maybe not the best decision to throw a white phosphorus right next to the vehicle. But yeah, so there were, set that to far, there were American smoke pots. So let's throw that right there. And there it is. The model for the smoke pot, we'll get to exactly what that is. It's the correct size, it just has the wrong model. We do need some work done on some of the models for some of this new stuff, but we use what we can. We are a mod after all. So yeah, so that'll start filling up, and similar to the number 6 smoke pot that the UK has. It takes a little bit to fill up, but once it does, it's pretty hefty, and it does linger for a decent while. And then, of course, you have the machine gun as normal. And then another example is the M10. So we'll hop over here into the M10. And as you can see, you know, this is very similar to the M8's loadout with the violet smoke. The reason why I wanted to showcase that one specifically, and yeah, there's a little thing there to notice, is that for the Achilles, it does not have a US loadout of these smoke grenades. Instead, it has number 77 white phosphorus, which let's throw that far away. There's also a signal smoke in blue. And then, of course, Mills bombs. Here we have the Crusader, which I just wanted to show off that this is another example of a vehicle that also has some smoke grenades. It has the same loadout as the Achilles, pretty much because the information I have on exactly what these would be loaded with is spotty. Moving on to Axis. Similarly with open-topped Axis vehicles, Axis will also have thrown smokes. This includes the smoke pots, the Nebelwurfgerat 39. Let's deploy that near, but let's throw it over here. So that is actually the smoke pot model for the Nebelwurfgerat 39. That's what's being used for the American smoke pot and the UK smoke pot as well, barring any kind of material texture recolor that we can get. There's also orange smoke pots that were available. Let's throw that one a little bit further for signaling. And there that goes. There were also German crews were issued flare pistols with red flares. So here we have that flare pistol. There we go. And no, it's not, the verticality of this is not set because, again, you would be able to fire this from inside, just, you know, it's open top. So it's not set to the verticality, so if I set this to near, but like look up really high, you know, the flare is still only going near. One of the other things that was allotted to German tank crews that were given these flare pistols, they have the Sprenggranate Patron ZZ. Apologies for potentially butchering the pronunciation of that or even the potential wording of that. This was a timed fused grenade that could be fired from the flare pistol. It had about a second fuse. It was designed to detonate close range in midair. So let me hunker down for a second here. And we can just fire that right there. And there we go. That does not have as much explosive as other frag grenades. So this is much more of like a bleed shrapnel effect. It'll probably take 2 to kill someone unless you land it right on them. But it does have a pretty nice spread. So if there are sappers or if your tank is getting overrun, this is something that the commander of the vehicle would be able to use. Moving on, the other kind of, or one of the other kinds of smoke launchers available to the Axis side is known as the Nebelwurfgerat. That is the array of 6 smoke launchers, 3 on each side of the turret, that is available and modeled for the Puma and the Tiger OSF H that is in PSRM. These were also operated by the commander. They actually had a selector near the top of the turret where you could actually cycle for, not really cycle, but you pressed it to fire different pairs. So for example, you can fire the widest set ones if you so choose first. There we go. And then let's say the narrowest. And then let's say... And again, this is, you cycle through which one you want with the W key, and you fire with the deploy/bipod key, typically bound to C. And in the Tiger, this functionality is absolutely no different. I just wanted to demonstrate it really quick. And again, as with the others, this is set to work with the rotation of the turret. Swap back to the commander. And this can be launched from inside. There we go. There's the array of all 6 starting to pop up and fill up with smoke right past the Puma. These, because these are Schnell Nebelwurfgerat 39s, these also fill up. It takes a second for them to fill up. They're not white phosphorus. They're not instant action. But once they do fill up, they do provide a pretty good line of smoke for a decent while. The Lukes from Project Variety, unfortunately, does not have its smoke launcher array for the Nebelwurfgerat. Unlike the other ones, because these are in an array and angled, I can't fully guess where exactly the projectiles need to come from or properly set them up, because each one of these has to be custom done based on the angle of the model. So the Lukes should get one if that is ever added to Project Variety, and this is the winter skin for the Lukes. So right now this is just present on the Puma and the Tiger H1. The third and final smoke launcher available to Axis is the, and I'm going to butcher this unfortunately, the Nahverteidigungswaffe. That was a kind of mechanism that was set up on the tops, on turret roofs. It is essentially a port that faces at an angle, and it was rotatable 360 degrees on the roof of the turret. It was operated from the inside by the commander. And this had 2 modes, and I will hop in so you can kind of see the UI for this to kind of demonstrate it. This is the Tiger 1E that I'm hopping into, which is different from the Tiger 1H that I showed before with the Nebelwurfgerat. So as you can see, this is a kind of poorly drawn. I've done all the line art for this. I'm not an artist. Apologies for the slightly warped image on this. But it is a breech-loaded port that could also be fitted with a cap, so you couldn't just slot grenades down into it and get something right into the crew compartment or anything like that. This would be breech-loaded. There were certain things that you could pop in, such as the Schnell Nebelkerzen. There's also the orange smoke canister was also discharged with the breech fire mechanism. It's similar to a percussion mortar. The kind of piece that comes off of there's a handle that comes off of the breech cap, and then there is something else that protrudes kind of on top of it that's kind of below the NAH and the name in the UI right there. That is actually kind of like a percussion mortar pin. And so you would, after loading the breech and closing it and locking it, you would punch that forward. That would set off a charge disc, and that would project whatever you had loaded into this mechanism. As I said before, this was rotatable in 360 degrees. That kind of presents a challenge for us, and unfortunately, at least for this initial version, there's not going to be 360 degrees on these. That is because the way to aim this is with your camera. On the Tiger, your camera in the cupola is 360 degrees, thankfully, so you will be able to use it 360 degrees while in that view. But when you are outside the turret, for example, you can't spin around in a circle. So if you are exposed, you would not be able to fire behind you. This is the easiest way to control this, so unfortunately you don't have 360 control at all times. So if we pop back in here, and let's aim over to the side over here at about 9 o'clock and fire off one of these. This would only have one range. This is because you did not load multiple charge discs, at least as far as I'm aware, that would actually project. And this tube was mounted at a specific angle, and it was not adjustable. So these are fixed, whereas some of the allied ones, due to certain different controls that were available, you are able to control the distance, but not for this. So if I go ahead and press the prone key to swap to this, I have incorrectly modeled this or set this to show as if it's being fired from the flare pistol, because that's what I thought this particular type of orange smoke was, but no, it was actually discharged, and that will get adjusted in a future patch for the UI presentation. But here we can fire this, and there's that orange smoke going, and that'll land over there and kind of do its thing. That has a lot further distance because it is being launched from the flare pistol erroneously, and I've kind of given some extra distance on these flares. So here's one of the red flares. There you go. And then finally, just like what was shown off with the thrown smoke, there is the ZZ grenade, which I will duck back down to use. So let's see. Oh, here's another example of a view that is not 360, but you could use this. Let's say that you've got an AT infantry on your left flank. You could fire this off. And that would harm them pretty good. It is worth noting that because this is an explosive, you can damage the side skirts and have them pop off if you use enough of these in enough areas. So tankers just keep that in mind. This is available on a lot of different vehicles, most notably the Tiger 1, the Tiger 2. I believe the Panther should also have it. It's been a minute since I implemented a lot of this. Here's where that port is on the King Tiger. This has the early turret, which, side note, this is a Krupp turret. This is the early turret produced by Henschel. The other turret that you know of is also designed by Krupp and was also manufactured by Henschel. Porsche was never involved in anything relating to the actual manufactured production series of King Tigers. So that whole thing is just basically a big misunderstanding. But anyway, this is the early Königstiger made by Adam Pingu as part of PSRM. So this has that port. If the skeletal meshes were actually set up to do this properly, we could actually have these rotate as you rotate your view, although that could maybe get complicated between like switching between the different views. But there are a lot of things that you could hook up for motion on a lot of these skeletal meshes that would be pretty neat to do. Just kind of throwing that out there as encouragement for adding more fidelity to the skeletal meshes of these different models of vehicles in the game. Another example of a vehicle that would have this would be the Jagdtiger. So that's the Nahverteidigungswaffe. At least it's turret roof mounted port. And hopping in here, so there's a different allotment of the smoke canisters. And this is an example where your view is kind of limited, and that is unfortunate. There you go. And then there's the orange flares, and then a hefty helping of these grenades. This should injure me. I'll close out the video with this. I believe this should injure me. It kind of depends on where the launcher is and where you are and how exposed you are on the vehicle. In previous testing, not necessarily with this vehicle, it did injure, but let's just see. Yep. Okay. So it is highly recommended that if you are employing this, that your entire crew is buttoned down. Otherwise, you will have to bandage your wounds. That is it for this feature preview, this video feature preview of the tank smoke launcher system that is available in PSRM. We will be launching the new update kind of as soon as possible, which is why a number of these things that we could fix between now and then, we're kind of leaving off for a patch. We're trying to do anything last minute, fix any critical issues that we need to, and try to get this out to you guys. So this is what we have, and I hope that everybody watching, you guys really love what we have here. And if anyone has information on what these tanks had, if there are tanks that had smoke launchers that don't have them in PSRM, and they were something like the Nahverteidigungswaffe, or if there were different allotments of smoke within like open top vehicles, or what the allotment is for the 2-inch smoke bomb launcher in some of the UK tanks, or the M3 smoke launcher in the US tanks. Please forward us that information. I do know that there is a little bit of confusion over the different smoke launchers that are present. There are different versions of these smoke launchers. They are not made equally. So if you do find information, please be aware that the information you have might be a different dated source than a later dated source that was used for this. It's also possible that I ended up using a earlier dated source, and you might have a more up-to-date one, or one that's more appropriate to the period in which these vehicles would see combat. There are other tank smoke launchers that do exist. There are some smoke arrays for the early German tanks. Those were mounted on the hull and kind of look like almost like a drawstring or a pull string, and it would let out a number of smoke grenades to go off. Also, what's not making it into this update is Soviet smoke launchers. Some of these had big smoke canisters that were mounted to the rear of the tank, or if there's any other kind of smoke launchers they would have, those are not making it in. I simply haven't done enough research with trying to finish every other feature. Those will have to wait until a future update, and then we'll see what we can do for smoke launchers for the Soviet tanks. Similarly, right along the ability to hop onto a tank, which I will show off again. That's in a previous video. Let's actually show me getting on the Yag Tiger. So let's select this one, and here we go. I'm just kind of hanging out right here. Right along for Soviet vehicles will not be in this initial update. That's just because it takes a lot of time to do each one, because they're all done custom, and there were a lot of other features we were trying to finish, so that'll also have to unfortunately wait for a future update. So yeah, and as you can see, for example, that smoke pot that was launched, the Nebelwurfgerat 39 that was launched over there, is still going. It's kind of fading away, but it's still going. So that's multiple minutes that I've been talking now that smoke has been going on. I think it's finally starting to really fade away. And with that, everyone, again, hope you guys like what you see, and hope that you enjoy the new PSRM update when it finally drops. And I should see you in another feature preview soon, if we can get that ready and prepared and sent out. In the meantime, hope you guys enjoy, and I hope you are all still looking forward to the update.